Hey, welcome to Eurowise. My name is Scott, and today we'll be doing a vacuum pump on a 2.5 Mk5 Jetta. Now this vacuum pump is a common failure point for oil leaks from the vacuum pump gasket and the base gasket to the cylinder head. The vacuum pump on the 2.5 is located above the transmission on the back side of the engine. Now the oil leaks will be on top of the transmission, and it'll also leak down underneath the transmission. So you see oil leaks underneath the vehicle. Here's our new vacuum pump and our new vacuum pump base gasket. Now that we have our transmission multifunction switch removed, we'll go ahead and remove our vacuum pump. Now this outer seal, you can see, over time becomes compressed, and then it will leak oil out of the front seal. So we'll go ahead and rock this out of place. Now that we have all the bolt removed, we'll also remove the vane. This actually does all the pumping for us. Now that we have it out, we're going to line up our selector shaft that goes in the transmission, and we're going to rock it into that hole so we can slide this out. Just like that. And there's our base gasket that also fails, that sits against the cylinder head. Now we can remove our vacuum pump. Now what we want to do from here is, you can see all the oil that's been leaking out through the vacuum pump. What we want to do is go ahead and clean this area while we're here. Now that we've cleaned up our area, just use a little bit of parts cleaner, a little bit of compressed air, and wiped it down, got it all clean. Before we go to install our vacuum pump, we're going to have to remove the base plate so that we are able to rock it into place. Now that we've got our base plate removed, we're going to have to remove the vane. And these pieces will slide out, so make sure they stay in place, because that will actually do your pumping for you. Now this factory gasket is a stamped steel gasket. What we'll do to aid in sealing is we'll apply a little bit of silicone sealant around the edge. We just want to get it to where it's tacky. We don't want to apply a bead, just enough to where it's tacky. So before we do that, we'll take our parts cleaner, spray it on a rag, and then we'll wipe down the surface of the cylinder head where the vacuum pump and gasket meet, so that we know we have a clean, dry surface with no oil contamination. We'll take our gasket and our sealant. I'm just going to squeeze this on my fingertips. And I'm just dabbing around the gasket. I don't want to saturate it with silicone. I just want to make it tacky. Okay, now that it's tacky on both sides, I'll take my vacuum pump and line my gasket up. Now this silicone will also help keep the gasket on the vacuum pump as you're installing it. That way you're not fumbling around with the gasket and the pump trying to install it simultaneously. Now the orientation of this pump also has a gear in there to match up with the timing chain gear. So you might have to rock it back and forth and move the gear, and that's not moving, so we're locked in and we're completely flush with the base of the vacuum pump. Now we'll install our vane pump. Both vane shims are in there, so we'll go ahead and install it. We might have to rock this out just a second to get room. There we go. We'll install our vane. Just rock that back into place again. There it is. The vane and the pump gear is completely flush. Now we'll install our bolts from the pump to the cylinder head. We'll go ahead and install our outer seal. We'll just make sure that the seal is fully in the groove. And then we'll install our outside cover and new bolts. Now that our plate is bolted down and tight, we'll go ahead and install our multifunction switch. We'll line the slot up with the selector shaft. And it just slides all the way down. We'll install our locking washer and our nut. Now that it's tight, we'll go ahead and bend our locking tabs over. We'll plug our multifunction switch in. Linkage on. This can only be mounted in one way. It's got a slot. We'll go with the selector shaft. And now our lock washer and our nut for the selector shaft. And that should be complete. Our vacuum pump is in. Hey, thanks for joining us. My name is Scott, and if you're interested in this service or any other service, please check us out at Eurowise.com or see more of our videos on YouTube and check out our Facebook page.